I once met a woman who said nothing when she entered the room, yet the moment she stepped in, everything fell silent. Not out of fear, but because someone had arrived with such complete presence that everyone was compelled to feel themselves again. Maybe you are that kind of person. You can't fake aura. It's not something you put on. It's the truth you've lived. Aura doesn't come from looks, achievements, or communication skills. It comes from the deepest place within, where Carl Jung says the shadow and the self have once held a conversation. You don't radiate because you are perfect. You radiate because you've walked through the darkness and survived. That is the energy others feel long before you ever speak. Jung wrote that each person carries a living symbol and archetype that the unconscious world recognizes even if you don't know its name yet. Some carry the image of the mirror reflecting what others try to hide. Others are the gatekeepers standing between light and shadow. Whichever you are, your aura is never accidental. Have you ever noticed people avoid you though you did nothing wrong? Or that strangers tell you their life story within minutes? Maybe you've been chosen by the collective unconscious to be awakener. Your aura is the arm of truth, and truth, even when silent, can be terrifying. In a world drowned in noise, those with strong aura don't shout. They cause others to go quiet, to face themselves, to feel. This might make you feel lonely, misunderstood, even labeled too sensitive, too intense, too distant, but you don't need to change. The discomfort you create is not a flaw. It's an invitation for others to face their own shadow. Your aura is the frequency created by every wound you've ever healed, every belief you've reborn, and every piece of darkness you've embraced. You don't need to speak. Your presence is enough. In this video, we'll explore 13 signs that your aura cannot be ignored. Not to brag, not to feel special, but to understand that aura is a process, not a gift. Aura is the result of going deep within and not flinching. And a strong aura is a kind of wordless language transmitting truth through your mere presence. If you've ever been misunderstood for your silence, if you've ever felt too much or out of place, then this video is a message from the unconscious sent directly to you. And now let's begin with the first sign. You make people remember you, even if you've never said a word. Sign number 1, you disrupt the room just by being present. Some people don't have to speak to make others listen. Carl Jung implicitly through symbolic energy. Have you ever walked into a room and felt it change? All eyes turn toward you, yet none of them can truly touch you. No one says a word, but something in the air shifts, as if an invisible door has opened. The space goes still, not out of fear, but because something profound just walked in. It's not coldness, it's not beauty, it's wholeness. Aura isn't something you perform, it's what remains when you've stopped performing. Your aura, the invisible field of energy around you, doesn't come from books, affirmations, or tricks to attract. It comes from the nights you sat in your darkness and didn't abandon yourself. From the times you chose truth over comfort. From the wounds you showed and yet kept your heart open. That creates a frequency, a vibration of inner coherence. Carl Jung called it the union of consciousness and the shadow, when the ego no longer acts but the self steps forward. A true story, a creative director whose silence spoke volumes. Evelyn, a creative director in New York, never spoke first in meetings, but the moment she entered the room, jokes died down, posture straightened. Something shifted, not because of her title, but because her silence had edges. She didn't judge, but she saw, and people felt that. She once said just one sentence, "I don't think we're being honest with this idea." And the entire room went quiet. Not out of submission, but because her energy invited everyone to drop the performance and face themselves. Evelyn didn't create pressure, her aura did. At work, your honesty often gets misunderstood. Corporate spaces often prefer pleasant cooperation over piercing truth. And those who live truthfully are seen as cold, difficult, not easy to manage. But when things fall apart, people seek the one who never wavers. When the right decision matters, when drama must be put aside, they come to the one whose aura is steady as bedrock. Because here's the truth. You're not built for office politics. You're here to shift the energy of a room just by being in it. In relationships, you make people face themselves. In friendships or love, you struggle to do cute small talk. You can't pretend to listen when your heart is elsewhere. You can't force a smile when your soul aches. And that makes some people uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because you're a mirror that reflects what they try to avoid. To those ready to face themselves, you are a rare gift. To those still living behind masks, you are a silent threat. Aura is forged in shadow, it can't be imitated. Some people are masters of small talk. Some shine with beauty or charm, but few have true aura. Aura is what lingers after you leave. It's the silence that makes people rethink themselves. It's the presence that whispers, you can't fake it here anymore. You don't need to say a word. Your very being is an invitation, a deep call for others to return to their own center. So if you've ever felt different, been called too intense, or made people uncomfortable simply by existing, remember this. It's a sign you're living with a true aura. You're not alone. Leave a comment below. I'm not too much. I'm just myself. And if you see someone else write at their comment, it's how we recognize each other. Quietly, deeply. In the next part, we'll explore sign number 2. Why your aura makes people feel either expanded or exposed. Not because you want power, but because your light reveals what the world is still hiding. Why your aura makes others feel either expanded or threatened. You did nothing wrong. It's just that your light reveals the darkness in others they're not ready to face. A deep message from the energetic field of the self. Aura as a mirror, the truly authentic person is often the image others fear to see. When you walk into a space with a strong aura, the first thing people feel isn't you, it's themselves. You mirror back what they haven't yet dared to face, their fears, their doubts, their buried shame. And that makes them uncomfortable, reactive, even angry because you've touched something they were trying hard to forget. Real story Anna, the colleague who disrupted the room by being honest. Anna, a team lead in Silicon Valley, would ask uncomfortable questions like, why are we even doing this project? Does this really mean anything? While everyone else rushed to meet KPIs, Anna couldn't pretend. In meetings, she often sat in silence until she said, are we being honest with ourselves here? And just like that, the whole room would fall silent. Not because Anna was judgmental, but because her words made the pretense too loud to ignore. At first, she was excluded from brainstorms. Some said she's too cold, doesn't fit the vibe. But over time, when projects hit crisis, they came to her. Because Anna saw through illusions. Her aura didn't make people comfortable. It made them value clarity. She didn't play along, she told the truth. Projection when others feel threatened by your energy. Jung called it projection. When people disown a part of themselves, they unconsciously project it onto someone else. You stop performing, you just show up, and suddenly their unhealed self gets triggered. On them, some lash out for no reason. Some withdraw or ghost you. Some are drawn to you intensely like you're a warm blanket in a storm. It's not about you being good or bad. It's that your aura resonates with their unfinished healing. A dual function, you are both anchor and awakener. Here's the truth, Asarn and Unturnan. You're sure. Tomorrow, those who feel threatened by your aura are facing their shadow. Those who feel expanded by it are seeing a reflection of what they could become. That's why your energy doesn't just cause reactions, it often initiates awakenings. Your presence becomes a small light that helps others finally see the next step on their path. Have you ever been misunderstood for not fitting in? Told you were too blunt, too honest, hard to please? Made someone furious just by naming what they were afraid to admit? Leave a comment. My light makes you uncomfortable because it carries truth. And if you see someone else write that their comment, that's how we recognize each other in silence. This isn't about superiority. It's about the courage to simply be present even when your truth disrupts the false peace around you. Next, we'll explore sign number 3. Why children, animals, and nature are naturally drawn to your energy. It's not because you try too hard. It's because real aura resonates with the primal unconscious, the sacred instinct of life itself. Are you ready to discover the bond between spirit unconscious and energy? Aura and the communion with instinct and nature. A person with a strong aura doesn't just affect people. They are unmistakably felt by those who cannot speak, children, animals, and nature itself. This isn't mystical fantasy, it's living proof that aura is an extension of the unconscious. And nature, as Jung often emphasized, is the living unconscious. Carl Jung once wrote that instinct isn't primitive or lesser, it's the ancient wisdom of humanity, the place where archetypal images from thousands of years of evolution are stored. When you live truthfully stripped of social mass, your aura begins to resonate at that original frequency. And animals, children, and nature embodiments of raw instinct recognize you instantly. The case of Jordan. The man the dog avoided when he lied to himself, Jordan. An IT engineer was known for his polite demeanor and constant smile. But internally, he felt like an outsider, disconnected and unsure about the life he was living. He tried to please everyone and hid his boredom and quiet despair. At a company party, the CEO's small dog kept avoiding him. It cuddled with others, but not him. Jordan, a dog lover, was confused, until a close friend casually said, "Maybe it's because you're not really here." That sentence hit him like a blade cutting through illusion. He realized it was his own inner dishonesty that disrupted his aura. Animals don't read smiles. They read frequency. They respond to the unseen truths we try to suppress. Nature as a mirror of the unconscious. In the Red Book, Jung regularly conversed with his soul through symbols, sometimes a river, sometimes a snake, sometimes an old oak tree. Nature doesn't need language to sense truth. It welcomes real aura like a long-lost family member. But it also reflects back any unresolved turmoil gently but without compromise. Aura isn't just emotion. It's communication between the unified self and the living unconscious which nature represents. When you sit quietly in the forest and a bird doesn't fly away, or a breeze brushes your face as if greeting you, that is a response, a signal that you've crossed the threshold between ego and self. Children and the archetype of primal truth. Children, like animals, don't react to your words, they feel your energy. And more than that, they embody the divine child archetype, a symbol of pure potential, new life, unconditioned being. When your aura becomes sincere, no longer pretending or performing, children come to you instinctively, like returning to the arms of a mother. They say, "I recognize you," not through words, but through their bright, unwavering eyes. The wild man and wild woman. In myth, the ones most in tune with their instincts often appear as the wild woman or wild man figures who live in nature, speak with animals, and hold untamed wisdom. Clarissa Pinkola Estes in Women Who Run with the Wolves wrote, "The wild woman is not someone who lives in the forest. She is someone who does not betray her own intuition." When you live from truth, not deception, your aura aligns with this wild archetype. In animals, trees, wines step out to meet you. You don't have to call them. They come because you are now part of the forest. For those who see with the soul, have you ever been avoided by animals when you smiled but felt broken inside? Been suddenly hugged by a child you've never met? Felt like nature was listening when no one else could understand? You're not imagining it. We call this circle those who see with soul, those who feel with the heart, not just the eyes. If you resonate, comment, "I see with my heart, not with my eyes." And if you've ever made others uncomfortable with your silence, don't miss the next part. We'll explore why the quiet power of your aura feels threatening to others and what's actually being triggered in them when you simply dare to be yourself. The stillness of your aura can feel threatening to others. Not all threats come from actions. Sometimes absolute stillness is the loudest sound in the room. When your aura becomes clear-rooted and unwavering, it can create a distinct kind of tension, not because you say something, but because you don't need to. Carl Jung once wrote, "The presence of what is authentic always unsettles the false." When someone enters a space with inner alignment, where mind, heart, and behavior are in sync, others often feel pressure, not because you demand anything, but because your very presence forces them to confront something in themselves. Melissa's story. When silence feels like an accusation. Melissa is a high school teacher, calm, low-key, never seeking the spotlight. She listens to students with non-judgmental eyes. A simple nod from her makes others feel seen. But in faculty meetings, it's a different story. When Melissa disagrees with a new policy, she doesn't argue. She doesn't raise her voice. She simply sits silently, yet her gaze reveals what the entire room is avoiding: contradiction, unfairness. And then the manager snaps, "Melissa, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't make others uncomfortable by just sitting there." She hadn't done anything wrong, but her stillness carried a truth that began cracking the masks around her. Afterward, a usually quiet colleague approached her. "Thanks for not backing down," he said. "It felt like someone finally said what I couldn't even without speaking." Why does quiet aura trigger such strong reactions? In Jungian psychology, this relates to persona and shadow. The persona is the social mask we wear, roles we play to be accepted. The shadow is what we suppress to keep wearing that mask: unexpressed truths, unacknowledged fears. When your aura enters a space still yet clear, it disrupts the comfort of performance. You don't need to do anything. Your presence becomes a mirror, silently reflecting what others are not ready to face. You stop being just a person, you become a symbol of what it means to live truthfully. And in a world built on pretense that is deeply unsettling, the unconscious response. When silence shakes the psyche. Sometimes you merely walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts. People sit straighter, avoid eye contact, change the subject. This is not your imagination. It's a collective unconscious reaction triggered by the resonance of your aura. Your aura emits coherence, a consistent frequency in a world full of noise and distortion. You don't need to speak to influence. You become a structuring force in the space, what Jung would call a symbolic presence, one that activates deep psychological movement in those around you. This is also how your aura connects to the collective unconscious, the shared ancient layer of humanity's psyche. You don't have to say a word. The truth you embody becomes a message that the unconscious cannot ignore. Stillness is not emptiness, it is accumulated depth. People often mistake silence for absence, but true stillness isn't lack, it's the result of processed experience, integrated pain, and earned clarity. Aura doesn't come from force, it comes when there's nothing left to prove. Someone who has met their deepest pain and made peace with it emits a calm that can feel uncomfortable to those who haven't. They won't know why they're uneasy, but they'll feel as if you can see through them even when you say nothing. Jung called this symbolic existence, where your mere being becomes an archetypal message. If you've ever caused an unintentional silence when entering a room, been mistaken as arrogant simply for being quiet, notice someone's gaze shift just because you sat still, you're not strange. You are part of a soul tribe we call quiet fire souls who burn not with noise but with unshakable presence. Comment below, I keep quiet but I'm not absent. And if this resonates, share your story. This is a space for presence, the kind that doesn't shout but reorders the room. In the next part, we'll explore the symbolic power of aura, how your presence transforms the environment without trying. You'll discover why some feel healed simply by being near you, and why others feel exposed or defensive. We'll explore the power to change a room with your presence and the art of leading without control. Aura as an energy field that transforms space. Not all change comes from action. Some movements are silent, no words, no reasons, yet they shift everything in the room. That's when your aura is no longer just part of you, but becomes an energy field that permeates space. Jung called this symbolic presence a living presence that embodies a force larger than the personal self, a force from the collective unconscious. When you don't enter the room, you enter their minds. Some people don't need to speak. When they walk in, the atmosphere changes. People go quiet. Postures shift. Voices soften. Not out of fear, not from status, but because the energy they carry has touched something in the collective psyche. That aura speaks not with words, but with frequency, with inner coherence, with truth that cannot be faked. And when you appear with that authentic resonance, you activate a collective reaction, not just an individual one. Jung believed that when we transcend the persona, the social mask, we each begin to embody a living archetype, the healer, the seer, the silent witness, or even the divine trickster who disrupts so that something true can be born. When you live aligned with your archetype, you are no longer just you. You become a symbol to others. Story when presence becomes a collective mirror. James worked as a quiet consultant, never flashy, never loud. But whenever he joined a team meeting, the tone would shift. People spoke more carefully. Some became nervous. He makes me feel like I have to be more honest. Even though he doesn't say a word, a colleague once whispered, "Wasibisawi." Because James had walked through deep personal crisis, his aura carried the energy of someone who had faced inner collapse and returned with acceptance. He didn't judge, but his very being reflected a truth others were avoiding. That wasn't charisma, it was symbolic presence. James embodied the one who has walked through darkness. And to those still hiding from themselves, he was unnerving. You represent an archetype, even if you don't realize it. A strong aura isn't just energy, it is the expression of the archetype living through you. When your energy is refined through suffering, truth, and deep integration, the collective unconscious no longer sees you as just a person. You become the protector, someone whose presence makes others feel safe. The healer, someone who brings tears without saying a word. The seeker, someone who makes others wonder, am I really living? The trickster, someone who disturbs false systems so truth can grow. These archetypes live in us as primordial symbols from the ancient mind. When your aura aligns with one, you awaken what's long been asleep in others. You don't need to say a word, you remind them of something they forgot. You don't control the space. You let the space reorganize itself. True energy fields do not dominate, they restructure. When you stand in a space with strong aura, you become an invisible axis around which the emotional order begins to shift. Those wearing masks may feel anxious. Those exhausted by pretending may feel finally safe. Barbara Brennan, an energy researcher, called this the interplay of fields. When your energy is stable, consistent, and coherent, it sends out waves that either entrain chaotic fields or make them fall away. Jung might call this the embodiment of the organizing principle of the psyche. You, without even meaning to, become the hidden center around which reality reorganizes. You walk into a relationship, a team, a room, and slowly something changes. Not because you try, but because your energy field does not permit lies to reign unchecked. You are one of the grounder souls whose very presence anchors a room back into truth. Have you ever made a room go silent, not because you shouted, but because you didn't need to? Calmed someone deeply without giving advice? Been misunderstood because the truth you live has passed beyond fear? If so, comment below. I don't control, I move everything. It's a signal, a call to those who've gone deep enough to become living symbols of what they've come to understand. If your aura can change the air, what happens when you truly start listening to your intuition? When you don't just sense the room, but read it like a language. In the next part, we'll step into the world of intuition, the art of reading people, sensing space, and feeling truth with your whole being. It's the final layer of aura, the power to see without seeing. When your aura is no longer outside, but becomes an inner path. Maybe you felt it before, that you're different. Not because you try to be, but because you can't help but live authentically. And each time you choose to be real, you feel a sense of distance. Sometimes admiration, sometimes resistance, but often misunderstanding. Carl Jung once said, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. And yet that important thing is the light you carry after walking through your own darkness. That's aura, not a glow you fabricate, but a soft ember still burning from everything you've had to set on fire inside yourself. An invitation to integrate your shadow. If you've gone deep enough, you know that strong aura doesn't come from toxic positivity, but from the radical acceptance of both your light and your darkness. So today I invite you to practice something small, but profound. Before bed tonight, write down one truth you've been hiding from others or from yourself. Don't explain it, just face it. Place a hand over your heart and breathe with it. This is the first step of shadow integration, when you no longer need to split yourself in two in order to be loved. Real aura begins there, in the deep soil, where you stop abandoning pieces of yourself just to feel safe. You are a living symbol and the world needs you awake. When you live authentically, you become an image of something others haven't yet dared to be. They don't know it consciously, but their unconscious does. You become the awakener, a living symbol of what's possible when truth is no longer feared. Even if misunderstood, even if lonely at times, your presence becomes a quiet seed in the soul of others. Don't think you're not having an impact just because you're silent. Your aura speaks what you haven't found words for yet. And with every step you take in awareness, you quietly heal the collective. If something in these words touch something unspoken within you, know this: you are not walking alone. Comment below, I live truthfully, even if my light makes others squint. Let that be the signal, the soul code of those carrying real light through a world of masks. A quiet flame, but one that never goes out. And if there's a line from this video that pierced you the most, share it. Not just to warm my heart, but to help this community feel they are not alone on this path. A small action with great meaning. If this video felt like a message from the soul, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Not to promote content, but to spread truth. Every share is a chance for someone to pause, take a deep breath, and begin to remember themselves. And finally, this journey isn't over. We've only just begun to touch the deeper layers of aura. Ahead lie many more doors. The depth of intuition and how to read unspoken emotional layers. How your aura transforms in love, relationships, and through heartbreak. How to protect your aura without closing your heart. In the next video, we'll go deep into intuition, the sixth sense of the soul. Prepare yourself, because this is where you won't just know truth, you'll feel it before it even shows up. I'll see you in the next part of the journey.